Intercept reporter Ken Klippenstein is starting to become a bit of a living legend for his antics on Twitter. And not only that, but of course, writing scathing articles, detailed exposés on corruption, and also, as I mentioned, trolling the hell out of the right wing. Not only the right wing, but of course centrists as well, but mainly the right wing. All right, so now the latest trolling attempt actually ended up ensnaring Matt Gaetz. Now, Matt Gaetz is currently facing allegations of sex trafficking a minor. Now, the case against Gaetz, by the way, is heating up ever since, of course, his buddy Joel Greenberg flipped on him to federal agents. Now, that said, Ken, in pure Klippenstein style, trolled him with this image. You can see. Oh, my grandpa's a big fan of yours. He's a veteran. He would be thrilled if you could RT this for Memorial Day. Here he is as a young private, first class. And by the way, he changed his name, notice, from Ken to Matt Gaetz is a pedo. Oh, simple, yet effective. But the best part of that troll was the veteran in the picture, who is Lee Harvey Oswald. You know, the guy that killed JFK. Not only that, but Gaetz is not the only person that fell for this. In fact, it's fantastic. More. You've got, of course, Matt Schlapp, which is fun. And then, adding on to that, Dinesh D'Souza, also doing a little retweet action. So many dipshits are falling for it. It's so great. They really, really do make it easy. Not only that, but of course, he's done this before. He's kind of perfected the art of the troll. Back in 2019, he tricked Representative Steve King into wishing a happy Independence Day to his quote-unquote uncle, fictional Marine Colonel Nathan Jessup from A Few Good Men. And then changed his Twitter name to Steve King is a white supremacist so that it would show up, same that he did with Matt Gaetz. And in 2020, last year, he fooled the former acting director of national intelligence, Richard Grenell, into bidding a happy Veterans Day to Bill Cowley, the war criminal behind the My Lai massacre. These guys are such idiots. Do they not do any sort of research before they look into these people? And again, Ken's an expert at trolling these guys because he'll, try to make his Twitter account look as right-wing as possible. Innocuous. And then post these things and it keeps working every single time because they don't know. They don't look into it. They're just like, patriotic American, retweet, American flag, freedom. Now, the best, of course, is yet to come, because now we are going to go and talk about Candace Owens. She decided to enter the fray, and it's fantastic. So here she is. She caught on to this, kind of. All right? So here's what she said. You are making a mockery of a day that is meant to memorialize men that died so that you and other anti-American leftists can laugh at their sacrifices by photoshopping a murderer into their uniforms. You are deranged, as is any person applauding your efforts. Photoshop. Who's going to tell her? That's no Photoshop, y'all. That is the real deal. Hey, it turns out that, yes, Lee Harvey Oswald was a Marine veteran. And it also turns out that veterans can do some pretty messed up things. Now, look, of course, it's just like anybody. And so I'm not singling out veterans, of course. In fact, mental health issues, though, are something that affect veterans quite a bit, PTSD being one of them. And of course, unfortunately, what we've seen, in a lot of veterans in America, is many of them going right wing. Obviously, not all of them. I actually know quite a few leftist veterans. Left Flank Vets, for example, is a great channel on Twitch. I would check them out. And so, I'm not trying to broad brush them, but understand that, yeah, there is a right wing problem in the military. There's also a right wing problem in, for example, the police. So, yeah. But Candace Owens doesn't know her history. She doesn't know who any of these people actually are. And that's, of course, why doing research, fact checking is kind of important. I mean, if you consider yourself to be a quote unquote conservative thinker who is very, very pro veteran, then you might know that and understand that I don't expect most people to know. But if you are somebody who considers yourself an expert on veterans issues or an expert on whatever, right? Politically, then you might at least try to do some research before you do retweeting, especially when you're a public figure. And now, obviously, after fucking around and then finding out, Candace Owens deletes the tweet, but not before this fun exchange, again, with Ken Klippenstein. So now, hold on. Let me see if that's the right one. Oh, yes. By the way, here's what he said. Would not have guessed that you cared so much about being politically correct. To which she responded, it's not political correctness to have a soul and a modicum of decency. Reminder, these men died, the majority of them on foreign soil, so that you could be free. You did not Photoshop murderers into their uniforms so you can have a laugh. Again, she has no idea. No idea whatsoever. Yeah, they're not sending their best, for sure. So now, here's the thing. Our military, let's be honest, right now they're not protecting freedom. They're doing an imperialism. And don't get me wrong, this ain't the troops' fault, okay? I think that they're having to be victimized by imperialism just as much as, well, maybe not just as much as the other victims of imperialism, but they're also victimized as well. Right now, this country has turned voluntary military service into what is essentially a jobs program for low-income Americans. And at the cost, and it's probably designed by that, that way because there's no draft. Okay, so they need to entice people somehow. So they'll offer job training. They'll offer money for college. If you're an 18-year-old kid, and you grow up in a poor area and you want to get out of that area, the military can seem like a viable career path. But at the cost of, in many cases, having to do imperialism, having to bomb brown people for oil, innocent people in a lot of cases. And I suspect that's not what a lot of people signed up for when it came to the military. And usually they signed up in order to pay for college, to escape those situations, or even in response to 9/11. There was Pat Tillman, of course, who ended up, dying in Iraq. And, signing up for what he believed were the right reasons and then realizing that they were the wrong reasons. And so, and by the way, it's not as if the military hasn't done things like humanitarian aid. Of course they do. But the imperial stuff is huge and problematic. And I think if we really wanted to help veterans, we would stop creating more of them. And the ones we have, making sure that we take care of them. And for fuck's sake, stop using them as props to your campaigns. But understand that politicians, and this happens mainly on the right, they only care about the troops and about the vets in order to exploit them for political gain. It's this weird, kind of rah, like, oh, we support the troops or pro-troop, whatever, when in reality, you're not. And I say that because anytime that there's something that's there to help veterans, that would actually make the difference in the lives of veterans. Not only that, but to avoid creating more veterans, they always seem to be against it. They're incredibly pro-militaristic, pro-war, pro-imperialism, and all of that is anti-troop. They actually end up making more veterans with even more fucked up, problems when they're gone, all for corporate profit, essentially. Democrats, by the way, are complicit in this. And so don't think that it's all a right-wing problem. Democrats are complicit in imperialism as well. We kind of all are. Whether we want to or not, it's the country that we live in. And that needs to change. Yes, free education for all would make a difference. Free healthcare for all would also make an incredible difference. And again, I don't want to do that because it would stop that pipeline, essentially. People needing an education, joining the military. So, yeah. But anyway, getting back to the non-serious issue after my little diatribe, Candace Owens, following this thorough embarrassment given to her by Ken Klippenstein, she decided the free speech, the defender of free speech, the uncancelable anti-cancel culture warrior, decided that she was going to cancel Ken Klippenstein by blocking him. You know, because of course. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.